Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida FAIRtax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, March 11th, 2022. Millennials and Generation Zs must demand the fair tax. If you belong to the baby boomer generation, that means you were born between 1946 and 1964. There are approximately 71 million baby boomers currently living in the United States. For Generation X, you were born between 1965 and 1980. There are approximately 65 million Generation Xers living now in the United States. Generation Y, now called the Millennials, were born between 1981 and 1996. There are approximately 73 million millennials currently living in the United States. For Generation Z, you were born between 1997 and 2012. There are approximately 68 million currently living in the United States. And back around to Generation A, if you were born in 2012 or later, there are approximately 48 million Generation A individuals living in the United States. Now, there are compelling reasons for all of us to support enacting the fair tax. However, it's especially vital for Millennials and Generation Z if they're to have any hope of enjoying the opportunities and lifestyles that were available to the baby boomers and to Generation X. Now, reason number one, personal liberty. The basic benefits of being an American are set forth in the Constitution and its amendments. We're supposed to be protected from unreasonable searches, seizure of our property without due process, arrests without cause, and spying without court approval. Now let's look at some facts about the IRS. Evading state and federal taxes is a crime, and those who honestly try to comply with the income tax laws inevitably end up paying more tax to make up for the shortfalls caused by the evaders. Now, much of the income payroll tax evasion is an expression of outrage against the present D.C. policies and an unfair income payroll tax system. Now, for every person who actually evades their taxes, there are many more who assist in the evasion of taxes by paying cash or by bartering services. Full compliance with the law requires that we file complicated tax forms on an annual basis. These forms are filed under penalty of perjury, and they're so complicated that most of us have to pay professionals to help us. Recent proposals call for the IRS to monitor all of our financial transactions, create a database of our faces, and be able to track our movements with our cell phones. This is all without probable cause or approval from any court. Clear violations of our constitutional rights. Now, billions of dollars are needed to provide the IRS with the ability to develop computer systems which will determine the amount of federal tax each of us owes. And finally, if you're going to keep the income payroll tax system in place, the IRS needs to dramatically expand its ability to stop evasion, and this will result in violation of many personal liberties that we previously enjoyed. Reason number two, the economic impact. The income payroll tax system increases the price of every product made in the United States by between 12 and 20%. That's because the costs of corporate taxes levied on every company in the production and distribution chains gets passed on down the line until it all reaches the end consumer. The income payroll tax system actually subsidizes the imports that compete with American-made products, costing the United States millions of jobs. It penalizes U.S. exports by making them more expensive than their foreign counterparts. This lessens demand for U.S.-made goods and hurts American manufacturers. It increases the cost of our purchases by a minimum of 15 to 30%. That's because in order to purchase $100 worth of goods, you must earn between $115 and $130 in order to have $100 after-tax dollars. The income payroll tax system reduces the size of the home loan or car loan for which you qualify because your ability to repay those loans is calculated on your after-tax take-home pay, not your actual earnings. It reduces the growth of the U.S. economy, and it also allows special interests to legally obtain tax savings that are not available to the rest of us, but for which the rest of us all pay for. So what's the solution? Why is it vital that Millennials and Generation Z support the FAIRtax? Now, the FAIRtax is a 23% national retail sales tax levied only at the time of purchase on new retail goods and retail services. Used goods are not subject to the FAIRtax. Now, let's look at what the FAIRtax will do. It will eliminate the income payroll tax system. It will eliminate federal withholding and payroll taxes, thus allowing you to bring home your entire paycheck. It will eliminate tax returns and the IRS because the FAIRtax is collected by the state sales tax agencies. It eliminates the need for our government to invade our privacy and trample on our constitutional rights. The FAIRtax will also show us the cost of federal taxes every time we make a retail purchase. It'll reduce the cost of U.S. products, will eliminate federal taxes on purchases up to the poverty level for each legal household, and it will stop subsidizing imports and penalizing U.S. exports. Again, the FAIRtax is collected at the register and only on retail sales of new goods and services. The FAIRtax will increase the number of high-paying jobs in the United States, will eliminate the ability of special interests to purchase special benefits that increase the cost for all the rest of us, and will also eliminate an estimated 90% of federal tax evasion. In conclusion, Millennials and Generation Z, the army you're being asked to join is not shooting bullets or trying to do harm to your fellow Americans. Instead, the army that you should join is one that is seeking to ensure that you, your children, and your grandchildren will live in a country that prides itself on observing constitutional rights, not violating them and justifying those violations because it's the only way to prop up the corrupt and unnecessary income payroll tax system. Join us and help us take back control of our country, not with bullets, but with the elimination of one of the biggest threats to our liberty and economic prosperity, the income payroll tax. We should all remember Edmund Burke's warning that applies to our efforts to take back control. Nobody made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. We should also remember this quote from George Orwell's 1984, which, if we do nothing, may foretell your and your children's future. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Now, what can each of us do? We can write letters and make calls to our elected representatives and attend Zoom town hall meetings demanding that if they really want to allow Americans to take back control, the first step is to eliminate the income payroll tax system and enact the FAIRtax. Take back control. Help us pass the FAIRtax. The IRS will be gone and we'll pay our taxes when we make purchases. We, not the ruling class and their minions in D.C., will decide how much federal tax we pay, and we'll know how much tax we're paying because taxes will no longer be hidden from us. It will be clearly shown on every retail receipt. If you have friends who don't know about the FAIRtax, send them to FAIRtax.org. Have them watch the whiteboards under how it works, and if they agree, ask them to please join us. Then, contact your members of Congress and the President and demand that Congress pass the FAIRtax, the only truly fair tax.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the FAIRtax and learn why the FAIRtax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at FAIRtax.org.